Hello, this is Brian Foster, and I am live streaming to you on YouTube on August 8th, 2021. And today we're going to go over another two chapters in the book, Evolution in Two Worlds. Chapter 9, Separations Between Spiritual Spouses, and Chapter 10, Emotional Discipline. But first, this is a book psychographed by two mediums, Chico, Xavier and Waldo Veira. They are Spiritist mediums, meaning that they believe in, study, and channel Spiritists, and the spirits who talk to them are all controlled and managed by Jesus Christ and his, of course, different levels of management. And Spiritism was brought to us in the 1850s. It was codified, as they say, by Allan Kardec. And what Allan Kardec did is he wrote a series of 1,019 questions, and he put those questions to different mediums in different geographical areas, and he did not use them to codify the book unless the answers were the same or very similar. And since then, there's been more and more Spiritist mediums psychographing, meaning writing from the intuition and the inspiration from spirit or a group of spirits surrounding him or her. And so there's been many Spiritist books written. And so what Spiritism says, they're bringing us so much more information about the world, the physical universe, the spirit universe, everything, why we are here, about reincarnation and karma. So if you're interested in Spiritism, I recommend you get the Spirits book. You can get that in PDF. You can also listen to it on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist called The Spirits Book, and it goes through the whole book. And then also from my website, nwspiritism.com, you can download it in MP3 format or in like an audible format. It's two files, so you can save, come back, and go where you want. So these are two different ways to learn about Spiritism. You can also download my book, Spiritism 101, The Third Revelation. It's on my website, NW Spiritism. It's free. It's a PDF. If you want, it's also in Kindle and paperback and in Audible. But in PDF, it is free, and it's also in French. So let's begin. This is Chapter 9 in Evolution Between Two Worlds. Now, this might be interesting to a lot of people. This is separations between spiritual spouses. So we all talk about our soulmates. And what people mean for soulmates is think people that will be forever, ever, be together forever, even in heaven. Well, there is a heaven. There's different levels of heaven. And there are, and I've read many passages of people who live together in one of the levels of heaven. And sometimes they're together on earth, and sometimes they're not. So I just want to make sure everyone says, some people say, will I ever find my soulmate? And I say, well, it's all up to what your plan was. A lot of times people will be married in life after life. They will help each other. But sometimes spirit will know that, well, one spouse uses another spouse too much as a crutch, and they need to learn something. So sometimes you may be separated from your soulmate in a life or two. Just trying to warn everyone, those things happen. I know it's hard to take because time moves so slow for us here on Earth. But when you're in the spirit world, it goes real fast when you're on this campus called Earth. So let's get into it. So this is the question here: is does separation between spiritual spouses occur? And the answer is it may happen, for example, that the higher authorities choose one of the spouses for a particular task among incarnates due to the special quality he or she possesses, and with which he or she will solve earthly problems and contingencies. Or after a blessed period of time in the higher sphere, one of the spouses might need to return to the corporeal sphere to undergo difficult experiences in order to fulfill certain commitments. In either case of comprehensible and just separation, the spouse that is in better condition, at least circumstantially, asks for the chance, nearly always as an incarnate, to watch selflessly over the object of his or her veneration and devotion. So this happens. So what they're saying is they're not separated because They don't like each other anymore. They're separated because of circumstances. One needs to have experiences that they can't really do in a relationship with their beloved, and they need this to help them rise in the spirit world. And the other is they're given a task that, maybe it's something that the person needs to come down. As an example, uh, Emmanuel, the he who was the spirit mentor of Chico Xavier. In fact, now Emmanuel is now incarnated, and Chico Xavier is his spiritual mentor. Emmanuel had a short life in the end of the 19th century, as in Brazil, because he knew his task was when Chico came to the earth, he would be his spirit mentor, and he would help psychograph many books. He'd send him many books. In fact, one of the books was Renunciation, which I'll talk about in a second. And he needed to learn modern Portuguese because he knew Portuguese. He had incarnated in Brazil before, but he was actually one of the persons that helped found Sao Paulo. So, of course, his Portuguese was way out of date. So they gave him, he only lived like, I think, 21 or 22. He was in college or some sort of university to become a priest, and he died early. Now, a lot of people say, oh, he died early, it's a terrible death. Well, no, it was all planned, just long enough for him to learn modern Portuguese, and back he went to the spirit world. So you have to look at these things. It's pretty interesting. Another one is many instances of spouses looking after other ones. In fact, a great book is Renunciation by the Spirit Emmanuel. It's psychographed by Chico Xavier, Francisco C. Xavier, in which the main character, Alcyone, which was a highly evolved spirit, she reincarnates to be with her beloved Charles, who was a less evolved spirit. And that happens sometimes. You're at different levels, and then one, spouse or the other tries to help them come up. And it was a great book, but and of course you read this in other mediums things too. So these things happen. There's another story where this man and this woman, and I forgot which book it was, but it was one of the Andre Louis series of books. Andre Louis went to one of these outposts in the lower zone and was talking to the guy that was in charge of it. And then this woman came down and was with him for a while, and then she left. And Andre Louis says, "Who is that?" He goes, "Well, that's the one who is my wife on Earth." But why aren't you together here? He goes, "Well, no, I don't deserve to be together with her because I did some terrible things when we were married on Earth." He goes, "Well, what did you do?" He goes, "Well, we were married, and I had a business partner, and he was just completely head over heels in lust with my wife, and he kept trying to seduce her, and she wouldn't do it, and she also wouldn't say anything against him because he knew he was my friend. And finally, he was so desperate that he kept saying how women are unworthy, untrustworthy, and he kept hinting that my wife was probably unfaithful to me, and that still didn't create the tension between us that he told. So then he hired a guy to come into my wife's bedroom as I was just going to show up. And then I saw him and I chased him out and shot at him. I never had a good look at him. And then from then on, I divorced my wife. I just said, "Leave. You're not going to talk to the kids," because you could do that in those days. And then I found out later she had died of tuberculosis, heartbroken. So when my business partner was on his deathbed, he confessed to his crime. He says, "Can you forgive me?" I said, "No." So when I died, and I just felt terrible, I kind of wandered the lower zone because ever since I found this out, I just felt horrible. But then my wife found me. She helped me up. And then the higher spirit said, "No, you don't really deserve to be together because you did not cherish what you had in the physical life. You need to earn that again." And so the guy said, "So I'm here on this lower level helping people and learning how to cherish what is given to me by God." So these are the lessons people learn in the spirit and the physical world. That's why, so many people say that and believe, and I believe too, that it's more of a hands off, right? It's, well, Jesus loves us, and but he's ready to take us when we confess ourselves, repent, or love, right? But it's so much more. It's not hands off at all. It's completely hands on. We're completely tracked and analyzed. We are on this campus called Earth. So as I gave you this example, he was given a whole a whole set of trials, which he made the wrong decision in one after another, as per his wife. Now he knows that's seared into him. Now he knows in his next life, because you don't go backwards, right? You might still make stupid mistakes and so forth, but you usually try to become a better person in each subsequent life, most of the time, not all the time. Some people are parked and they kind of stay the same for life after life after life. But think of this. And then his wife, when she died, she followed everything he was doing when he was still alive, when it was just him with the children. So we are always watched over. And there are our guardian angels, there's other spirits watching us, there's our friend spirits, and past family spirits in heaven watching over us, helping and trying sometimes to give us inspiration. So we are so close to the spirit world. This is what Spiritism has brought to us. Okay, now the next chapter is chapter 10, emotional discipline. And the question here is, how is emotional discipline applied in spiritual societies of the higher realm? And then here's the answer. Those who think that sexual incontinence is the rule of conduct on the higher planes of the spirit world are terribly mistaken. Mediums who have observed regions of licentiousness or discardedness have provided news about them are, of course, only reporting on inferior places that are highly attuned to brute-like polygamy, no matter how brilliantly their philosophical concepts might come across. Marriage on the higher planes, this is so the lower zone. So there's a lower zone is from the crust of the earth to the lowest level of heaven. And then the dark abyss is more of a purgatory, a really horrible place, which is below the crust of the earth. Marriage on the higher planes involves souls joined by pure love, a true sanctifying spousal union that generates admirable works of progress and beauty for society's edification. When such a marriage must be postponed due to unavoidable circumstances, spirits of superior conduct accept the earthly struggle in order to purify their sexual energies, using them for dignifying work and abstaining from polygamous conditions, depending on how intense and active their effort is for their own purification. Moreover, one must remember that in the constructive self-denial that they accept in the sometimes lengthy anticipation of the love that will integrate them into the union they desire, they find invaluable opportunities for advancement and progress by serving other, increasing the lofty qualities of culture and emotion, which provide them with the purest and most uplifting inner delights. So, what he is saying is that there still is some activity, but not in heaven. In heaven, it is more true love and true help and true loving to be together. And it's just like you're with your best friend and soulmate, everything together. And then, of course, down in the lower zones, people still eat, and they do all sorts of things. And because they're more connected to the earthly plane. And this is how it works, even on the different levels of heaven, is people are connected to earthly desires, and good and bad as that is. Now, what they say in spirits is that when you are rise above about level 3, now these levels I'm talking about, I take from the books by Reverend G. Val Owen, and they say from 1 to 10. They say there's other numbering systems, but we're directionally correct. And actually, no, there's 1 through 7, etc. Because, but these like first 3 levels, even the spirits who come from Earth, they'll still like gather themselves in different cities. They'll be associated with one culture. They will could be associated with one religion. It could be like a Catholic outpost or a Protestant outpost or a Hindu or a Muslim, whatever. Or just someone's like just love Thailand, and people all they're really nationalistic for Thailand, let's say. So they're still connected to the social and cultural and religious mores of the earth. So that makes sense, right? But as you get higher and higher, you understand that we're just all humans. Where there is only, there is one doctrine, and that is following God's set of divine laws. We all must love each other, and we all are works in progress because we're on a planet of atonement, which means that we're on this planet that we pay for our past wrongs. So we're all going through this educational effort. Now, in education is constant in the physical world and the spirit world. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, so the education in the physical world is the set of trials that are pre-planned for us to go through in our life. So when we think of education, we think, oh, elementary school, high school, college, and then we're done. Then we get work and we make money. Well, actually, all the time while you're working and making money, or not working and not making money, you're going through different episodes, and you're learning, and you're learning because of different stimuli that have been pre-planned for you to exercise different emotions, because that's what on earth is really good for. It exercises your emotion. When you're in heaven, everything's calm and nice, but on earth, it's everything is just like Socrates said, it's almost impossible to think straight on this planet because you have all these thoughts and stimuli coming at you, 1,000 a minute. But so this is really, we're here not to become intellectual giants, but to rip out the primitive emotions, hate, envy, jealousy, and replace those with more advanced love, charity, fraternity, honesty, and love, and really wanting to do service for others, because that's what you learn in the spirit world is the importance of service to others. And that's what he talked about in this book is serving others, helping, going on tasks, going on missions. All these things are is to help everyone else improve. And that's a purpose. Now, in the spirit world, education is like what the Reverend G. Bowen's mother told him in the beginning of the 20th century, is they go through classes. So she was on one of the levels of heaven. She goes through classes. She's learning all the different sets of divine laws. She's learning how to create action with her mind, all these things. And then you kind of go through these different colleges and universities. And then when you have your emotional and spiritual quotient and you've done the colleges, then you rise up to the next level of heaven. And until you deserve it, there's no like time frame. Until you are ready, then you're promoted, and you keep going promoted all the way up until you're, and all the 10 levels around the earth are all just for educating people. And once you finally get past the 10th level, then you really are a productive member of spirit society. So we on earth, we're like high school kids who come out of high school and think we're productive and ready to work. And then of course all the adults like, oh, I don't even know if you're worth, $5 an hour, not to mention the minimum wage. And because I remember when I worked the minimum wage, I think it was like $1.06 or $1.02 an hour. And looking back at it, I don't know if I was worth it, right? And that's how this, we're just kind of in training and learning how not to be spiritually mature, I should say. So we are learning to become mature, and that's what we're here. Now, hopefully the earth, we are on a path to become a planet of regeneration as we started around the year 2000. So that will help us rise in the future for those who want to get with the program. Those who don't want to get with the program, those who do not wish to improve themselves, those who do not wish to follow the path of the light as led to us by Christ, they will be taken to other less advanced planets, and they'll be able to give more trials and tribulations. Everyone eventually will rise. So I don't know that I'm done with those two chapters. They're pretty short. And if there's any questions, please put them in and I will answer them. If not, I will finish for today. Just to let you know, I think before I forget, if you're really interested in understanding the whole complex logic of the spirit realm, the spirit universe, the physical universe is a subset of the spirit universe. What we are is spirits. Well, because what are we? Because we're not this physical thing. This physical thing is just a temporary covering. We are actual spirits with uh, a core set of a personality that exists in the spirit realm, and that we exist and we're tied to our body by our parent spirit, and we are immortal. So if you want to see how the spirit rises, how we are guided, I recommend the book The Spirit Realm. Spiritism has revealed the reality of our existence.